Microbrewery wasn't a word I heard when I was younger. Now, microbreweries are a huge business and they are everywhere. Brewers were by and large white and male, but that's changing. I'll introduce you to a filmmaker whose documentary, One Pint at a Time, showcases male and female brewers of color. You'll also meet one of the people featured in that documentary.
Culture in New Orleans is the mecca, it's everything. We have some of the oldest foodways that date back to centuries old. If you're looking for a history tour de force, you think a pint glass is deserving of that same kind of stature as some of your gumbos, your etouffees, remoulades. It needs to have that same kind of respect and yearning.
Aaron Jose, thank you so much for being on All Things Men. A pleasure. Tell the story you told me about when you and your wife will go to microbreweries and look around, and what did you see?
Well, in 2014, we took a road trip to Asheville, North Carolina. And at the time, it was fresh off of being voted Beer City USA. And, I'm typically been a cocktail drinker, and if I had beer, I would drink like Miller Lite, the occasional Rolling Rock, Killian's Red, but not the stuff that they were calling craft beer. But in Asheville, that was kind of the thing, was to drink craft beer. So we went out one night and I had this beer called a Farmer Ted's Cream Ale from a company called Catawba Brewing. And it blew my mind. It was like the craft beer bug had finally bitten me. And it was smooth and sweet and completely different from anything that I was used to drinking, which I realized were like lagers and pilsners. This was like a cream ale, a different style of beer. So from that point forward, we just continued savoring beer everywhere we went. When we took road trips or if we flew over to different parts of the country, we would always seek out new breweries to try. It just became an adventure. And, over time, we would meet new people, have a good time, savor different beers. And it really gave you a sense of the character of a place and the people that live there. But, of course, after a while, we would start looking around and notice that tap rooms were, didn't have anyone that looked like us. We were typically the only or among the very few people of color in tap rooms. Being a documentary filmmaker, I felt that I could do a story about this. And so I just started researching the industry and realized that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And for as long as it's been around, minorities have only owned a fraction of the annual revenue. In terms of Black-owned breweries, they own less than 1% of the money that is made in the craft beer industry each year. So that to me was shocking. Yeah, this disparity in revenue share and lack of diversity really got me digging deeper to learn about the craft beer industry. And that's why I made this project, One Pint at a Time.
Let's talk about that project. That whole becoming aware of lack of brown, black faces that you would see. You see them in your documentary. Talk about that.
Yeah, so basically where we started is I found myself for 4 years going to different parts of the country and connecting with organizations that represented craft breweries at the national level and organizations that represented breweries at the state level, and also connected with organizations that represent women, exclusively women, working in the beer industry. And I was also lucky to find a few organizations that supported minorities. The Brewers Association, which is the big national organization that supports independently owned breweries in the US, they had hired an equity and inclusion partner in Dr. J. Nicole Jackson Beckham. And she, till today, they hired her in 2018. And for the past couple of years, she's been going around basically educating breweries on how to become more diverse, equitable, and just. And that's kind of been her role. And she's had a big hand in the ongoing diversification of the craft beer industry. There are other organizations like Beer Culture, based out of St. Petersburg, Florida, that raise funds to give scholarships to Black and brown people so they can land jobs in the beer industry and get certifications necessary to work their way up in the beer industry. Then you also have the very well-connected and very warm group of people up in Atlanta, the Black brewing community there. They just started the Leaders of the Brew School, which is the first professional Black-owned brewery collective, I would say, in the country, definitely in the South. There's nothing like it. So these are the folks that, I came across over the past couple of years, like the Pink Boots Society, which is the world's largest nonprofit organization for women in beer. I mean, these are all these groups that I was learning about, to better understand the kind of the historical context as to why there was this lack of diversity in the craft beer industry.
We're back with documentary filmmaker Aaron Jose.
Runoff's going well.
Nice.
Jump on up, we'll take a look at the barge.
Starting out, after making the pilot, then we landed, in one facility, and we did get some pushback. I don't know if it's a girl thing, I don't know if it's a Black thing, but you just had some people in the industry who weren't really kind. They just weren't used to seeing people of color in the industry, and then all of a sudden you've got this Black chick contracting in their brewery, and some people just for whatever reason just didn't like that.
Aaron, let me bring some names up that are people in your documentary. Elisa Bowens Mercado, tell me about her.
So Elisa is the first Black female brewery owner, I would say male or female, in the state of Connecticut. And she runs Rhythm Brewing Company, and she's also the brewmaster for Rhythm Brewing Company. Her nickname is actually Lady Lager, and she's been going around New England for the past couple of years, hustling, building her brand. She started out with the Rhythm Unfiltered Red Lager, and since then she's expanded her portfolio to include additional beers, and she's been amazing. And I get to tell her story in the documentary. And I feel very honored to call her a friend as well.
Aaron, how about Dennis Malcolm Byron, AKA?
Ale Sharpton.
Right.
Yeah, so Ale Sharpton is one of the, let's say, the OG Black beer influencers in the country. He has been involved with minorities and trying to advance minorities in beer longer than a lot of the current influencers are. And he's based in Atlanta. So everything related to craft beer in Atlanta and the promotion of craft beer, as well as the, connecting that with urban culture and the Black brewing community and all these collaborations that are happening. And even in the establishment of the guild, Leaders of the Brew School, Ale has played an incredible part in all of that. He's been pushing diversity in the beer industry for, I would say, a good 15 plus years.
I've heard people say, if I could only do this thing, I'd be happy. I heard Fewer people say, I'm right where I want to be. What camp are you in?
I am more in the first camp, but with my eyes towards more, because I appreciate telling stories about real people and building relationships, and having my work in some ways, play a part in some kind of social impact, and being, kind of like a voice or amplified voice for marginalized people. And that's the type of work that I've done over the past couple of years. But I do want to continue doing this because it's always fulfilling for me. And it's not about the money, but it's fulfilling for me to be able to do work where you're impacting other people's lives.
Aaron Jose, my friend, thank you so much for being on All Things Men.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that smells good. Essentially, this is what we do on Brew Day. This is pretty much where we brew our beer at our garage in my house. Licensing is contingent upon location. So if you don't have a location, you can't get a license. So we operate under homebrew laws. Past that, we don't have a brick and mortar yet. So essentially, you can only get our beer at events where we give it away for free. We've been trying to solidify a location since 2014, but we had a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. We're pretty close now. That's a good thing. However, we try to keep things informal and kind of just hang out and brew. Most of my friends work in the industry. We're brewing beer, we're hanging out, we're talking beer. We're just doing what beer nerds do.
Houston Lett, co-owner and head brewer of Bastet Brewing, one of the few black-owned breweries in the state of Florida. First of all, congratulations, my friend. And second of all, before brewing, you were a professional designer for over 20 years. Tell me about that.
Yeah, art was always my love, and I didn't want to waste it. My family, a lot of us had artistic talent, but no one did anything with it. So, I discovered graphic design. Ended up working in a mailroom while I was in school for that. And then once I got my degree, they moved me to the marketing department, and the rest is kind of history.
Your wife was behind your move from that to brewing beer. Tell me about that.
Yeah, she's always been very supportive of everything that I've done, and vice versa. It was a difficult decision, and she kind of helped nudge me towards it. It's most people tell you working in this industry, you take a pay cut, take a huge pay cut. She supported that, even though we were used to living a certain kind of way, and she was all for it. She acknowledged the fact that I had the passion for it just as much as I did for art. And, she kind of just pushed me in that direction. And I thank her for it. She actually gave me my first kit and got me into brewing beer. Before we were just consumers, buying beer, going to all the different breweries, all the different, beer bars, if you will. And so she knew I had a love for it, and she was always encouraging of that.
We're back with Houston Lett of Bastet Brewing. What does brewing beer entail?
It entails a lot, man. It entails creativity. It entails attention to detail. It entails just love. I say it all the time, man. You brew beer just like you cook food, and you cook food with love. You brew beer with love. I always say it's a labor of love, and I treat it as such.
Houston, were you concerned of going into a field that at the time didn't have a whole lot of us in that field?
Absolutely, I was. Like I said, I was a consumer first, and going to festivals, you see not a lot of people that look like you, and that was a huge concern. But I didn't let it stop me. We the people of color in the industry tend to gravitate towards each other, but I've built a lot of relationships throughout this industry, regardless of the color, but it was definitely a concern. It was definitely I think an obstacle, to be honest with you. I applied at multiple breweries for years and years and years before I finally got hired on, and I would have to attribute some of that to, being in the minority, to be honest with you, because it was just uncharted territory for a lot of breweries.
Houston, you've learned a lot on this journey. If I came to you and said, help me get started, what would you tell me?
I would tell you to read some more, brew some more, read some more. That's what I would tell you. You never, ever stop learning in this industry, and that's probably one of the things that I love about it. You stay, that hunger just doesn't go away, just to learn more and just to make better beer. And I would just say work hard, read a lot, and brew a lot.
Houston, we love to be there with you, but we can't. Can you do me a favor? Show me Bassett Brewing, a bit of it from your perspective.
Absolutely, guys. Hang on one sec here. All right, so this is the tasting room. Let me go out first to show you the entrance. So for the people from the Bay Area, we're on Adamo Street, 1951 East Adamo. We're right down the street from Coppertail. It's a 3-person suite, but this is what you see when you walk in. It's our front door. This is our bar, 24 tap bar. There's Tom, my business partner. Say hi, Tom. So we got 3 TVs, one with the menu, a couple things on for the games. This is the mural that I did this is Bastet, unleashing her wrath on mankind. And then our logo above the TV. It's a 89-person seat tap room. There's some barrels in the corner back there. Hallway to the men's and ladies room back there. And then this the glass into the brewery, where you can see we got a 5-barrel system. I'll take you guys back there. You're gonna get some background noise from my glycol chiller, but just same messy back of the house brewery as any other brewery. But this here is where the magic happens. This is the 5-barrel system. It's got rakes. It's got all the bells and whistles. We have some 5-barrel fermenters. Then we got a couple 10-barrel fermenters to do double batches if we need to. And then we have, these are 2 1-barrels, and then these are 2 more 1-barrels back here. So I can split batch. I can do a 4-barrel batch and then batch into these tanks and then dry hop them differently. Here's the back room back here. That's our winery. We do ciders back there. You have to be licensed as a winery to do ciders. And then here is our cooler. We have a direct draw system cooler, we're pretty proud of this. We built the shadow box here. So everything is cool. Right on the other side of that wall is our taps. So there's no dead beer sitting in the lines. So you get clean, crisp, cool, refreshing beer each time you pull that tap. And that's about it, guys.
Houston, thank you very much. And thanks for the tour. Do me a favor. On
Yes,
that
sir.
email that I sent to you with the link, send the address of your place back on that email so I can come out there and visit, because you're making me thirsty.
Good. Yeah, we'd be happy to have you, man.
Pleasure, my friend. Pleasure. Have a great one.
You too. Take care.
Frederick McKinley Jones was born May 17, 1893 in Cincinnati. He was an inventor. He was an entrepreneur and a winner of the National Medal of Technology. He's also in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Jones taught himself electronics and built a transmitter for the town's new radio station. He also invented a device to combine sound with motion pictures. In addition, Jones created the mechanism for dispensing theater tickets as well as your change. Around 1938, Jones designed a portable refrigeration unit for trucks carrying perishable food, and he received a patent for it in 1940, which paved the way for the grocery stores you shop in today. With a partner, Jones formed U.S. Thermal Control Company, later known as Thermo King, which became a $3 million business by 1948. Portable cooling units designed by Jones were especially important during World War II, preserving blood, medicine, and food for use at Army hospitals and on the battlefield. Frederick McKinley Jones was awarded over 60 patents. He died of lung cancer in Minneapolis, February 21st, 1961. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. As always, I'm your host, Mark McKeown. I'll see you next time on All Things Men.